Big data is nothing but, it's a huge volume of data which cannot be processed and stored using the traditional approach in the given time frame. So this is about a big data. Big data is also, if you could put it in a simple state, you can tell it as like problem statement. So it's a problem. So when there is like huge amount of data, how can you measure it? Like how huge this data needs to be. So data could be in gigabytes, data could be in terabytes, petabyte, exabyte, and more in size. So what would be like, like when these data comes out, like keeps generating, where would you try to organize it and where would you try to store it efficiently? So that is what is the biggest challenge here. So processing and storage is the biggest challenge in the big data. So one of the day-to-day life examples would be like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, LinkedIn. So these are the different types of data, like these are the different types of social media networking, different types of data has been generated. So where this data gets stored, so what happens to this data? Like, generally we can take an example like WhatsApp. So when you are trying to share a pic, so where the data is being saved, like where it is actually getting saved. So all these things, like the minute you transfer your pic onto your other mobile, so the transferring speed and the downloading speed, everything is like more important over here. So this big data is classified into three types. So do you have an idea like what is the classification of big data? How it can be classified?
Velocity, volume, and no.
Okay, velocity, volume. Okay. So volume is like huge amount of data, velocity is speed of a data. Then
Variety.
yes, variety. So
Not
what are the various types of data? So that would be your classification of big data. So volume is nothing but the amount of data that is getting generated, and velocity will be your speed at which the data is getting generated. Variety is nothing but the different types of data that is getting generated. Okay, so what are the various types of data we have? Various types of variety of data. Variety of data can be again classified into three types. One is structured, the other one is unstructured, the other one is semi-structured. Okay, so can you give some examples for structured, unstructured?
structure. It should be readable format.
Structure should be?
It's in a predefined format.
Okay.
So all the traditional tables in the traditional database.
Okay, like can you give me some examples? Like what are the examples of structured data? An XLS file could be a structured data. Okay. So CSV file could be a structured data. Okay. For unstructured data, what could be your examples? So
Log files. Log files.
Log file is unstructured data, do you think?
I mean, some log files we cannot read it, right?
Okay.
So,
Log files actually comes under semi-structured.
Images.
Yes, video images. That could be your unstructured data, video, images, MP3 files. All these could be your unstructured data. Okay. So semi-structured could be your log file. It can be your emails. Okay, so this is all about your classification of big data and characteristics of your big data. So structured data will always have a proper form associated to it. That is said to be, the structured data. Unstructured data will be something, a data that does not have any form associated to it. Those type of data will be called as unstructured data. Semi-structured data would be defined as, the data does not have proper form associated to it. So that could be, defined as a semi-structured data. So these are the different classification and characteristics of big data. So once this is done, the other topic, the other topic is like very much important, where you have to talk about the challenges. So challenges, what are the challenges we are facing with the big data? Mainly it is a huge volume of data. So how we are going to store it and manage it efficiently. So storage and managing part. This would be our first challenge. And your second challenge will be how to process and extract valuable info from this huge volume of data from this storage in the given time frame. So processing in the given time frame. So these are the two biggest challenges we are going to face with the big data. So what happened in earlier days is, the data from different sources were collected to your ETL system. That was like ETL, many of you know about ETL and ELT. So ETL is nothing but extract, transform and load, which is being done in the data warehousing concepts. So ELT would be your Hadoop ecosystem. That is extract, load and then do the transformation. Okay, so this is about your Hadoop. And this what happens is, in earlier stage in ETL, every data, all the data which has been collected from the different data sources will come here, and then it will be put into your data warehouse, where your all the data will be saved. So after that, that will be, you put it in a proper format, and then it will be put it in a DB where the end user can have the access to it. So whenever they are trying to take your history of data, it takes time for them to process it and download the huge amount of data. So here Hadoop comes into picture. So this is what it happened in the traditional approach. So also some of the drawbacks here in traditional approach was, it was quite expensive. So for implementing and upgrading the system was quite expensive here. And the scalability was quite tough. When you are trying to extend your systems in your network, so it will try to disturb the other systems which is there in the network. So extending data was very tough here. The scalability was tough here, and also the time consuming. It was taking a lot of time to generate a huge amount of data. So in order to resolve all these things, Hadoop came into picture. So okay, so this is all about your general introduction about your big data. So what happened in earlier days is, again, this had RDBMS was not able to handle all this unstructured type of data and semi-structured type of data. So it handles only the structured type of data. For that reason, Hadoop came into picture. So you could ask me like, what happened before Hadoop? So before Hadoop, there were some OLTP systems where, OLAP systems where, the historical data was trying to been extracted, and all the processing were done here in OLAP systems. So after this, Hadoop was bringing so many components here, to process structured all types of data, like structured, semi-structured and unstructured data. So here, okay, so Hadoop, actually, we'll get into this Hadoop introduction. So Hadoop is nothing but it is a open source framework which was developed by Duff Cutting in the year 2006. So this Hadoop actually is combined with so many components inside. So it was managed by the Apache Software Foundation. The name Hadoop came because of that yellow colored elephant toy which the duff cutting son was actually having it. So he named that concept called Hadoop with that toy, elephant toy. So it was actually this Hadoop is actually designed to store and process huge amount of data efficiently. So Hadoop is actually consists of two components. This is which is HDFS, and the other one will be your MapReduce. So these are the main two components where the HDFS will deal with the storage and managing data within the cluster, and your MapReduce will take care of the processing part. So these are the two main components which you have to know about in Hadoop. Then your Hadoop cluster will be of two types. So your Hadoop cluster is again of two types, that is nothing but the master node and slave node. Okay, so I know generally this master slave architecture is applicable over here as well. So but in different terms, you'll have under this name node, data node, and there are other types of secondary name node and job tracker and task tracker. So this you could tell it as different types of nodes, or the daemons which is being run which is running here in Hadoop cluster. So name node will come under the master node, and secondary name node also will come under master node. Under that you will have a job tracker. So on top of every name node you will have a job tracker. On top of every data node you will have a task tracker. So in this way, the Hadoop cluster actually works on. We'll look into the concepts with the diagram once you will be able to understand it. So we have covered what is Hadoop. So Hadoop cluster, I'm just covering it up. Okay. Okay, so once we are into the Hadoop sessions, we will be looking into the Hadoop cluster, like how it works and how what are the things happens inside that Hadoop. So this is like general introduction about the Hadoop cluster. So Hadoop cluster is always based on this master and slave architecture, where the master node will have three nodes like name node, secondary name node, and job tracker. Then your slave node will have other two nodes like data node and task tracker. So on top of every name node, you will have a job tracker. On top of every data node, you will have a task tracker. So this is how the data could you could read and write a data in an HDFS. So when you are covering the HDFS part, you must know like what the name node does and what the data node does while this storage and processing is being done. So these are the important concepts here in Hadoop cluster. So once that Hadoop cluster is being understood, you can move on to the next topics like features of Hadoop. Features of Hadoop is nothing but your cost effective system. So here in Hadoop, it is like commodity hardware is used. So commodity hardware is nothing but it is something like a cheap hardware, a cheap clusters of computers. So a cheap cluster is being used here. So only for the name node they'll have the high end machines. Rest of the data nodes will have all the data node is always built up with the commodity hardware. So it is one of the features here in Hadoop, that is like cost effective system. So next feature would be your large clusters of nodes are being supported. So you can keep on adding, like first Apache software, what they have done is Apache Foundation, they have tested it with the 4000 nodes. Before that it was tested on 1000 nodes. Then later they have tested on 4000 nodes. So what happens is like large clusters of nodes are being supported here. So it is one of the second feature here in Hadoop. So other features like parallel processing of data is being supported. So data is being processed simultaneously across all the nodes in your cluster. So this is another feature. And distributed data. Distributed data is nothing but the Hadoop framework always takes care of your splitting and distributed data across all nodes within the cluster, and it tries to replicate your data. So automatic failover management would be your another feature, next feature, that is like it will try to replace your failed machine with the other, and that too with the same configuration settings and without disturbing your network at any cost. So this is like one of the feature here. And then what happens is like heterogeneous cluster. Heterogeneous cluster is nothing but, basically it refers to the cluster within which each node can be from different vendor. Vendor is like, it could be like IBM, Intel, AMD or HP. Also, and each node could be running on a different version or different flavor of OS. OS like, different flavors of OS. In the case like example, I can give you like RHEL, Red Hat Linux, and Ubuntu, CentOS, and Fedora. So all these are, the different flavors of OS where you can have the different vendors. So it tries to define this heterogeneous cluster in this way. Like basically it refers to the cluster within which each node can be from different vendor, which can have different flavors of OS. So this is about the heterogeneous cluster. So next feature will be your scalability. So scalability is one of the important feature here. So where the ability of adding your removing your nodes to and from your cluster, and also to add and remove hardware components to and from your cluster without affecting the cluster operations. That is like not affecting any of the clusters, not affecting any of the operations of the operations that are being performed in the cluster. So in order to not disturb all these things, the scalability is one of the important feature here in Hadoop, where it tries to not disturb the other operations being performed in the cluster. So it will try to add and remove your hardware components, or whatever the operation you are trying to do, it will try to do it without disturbing any of the components here in your cluster. So this is all about the features here in Hadoop. So generally, I told you that Hadoop will work on based on your Hadoop file system and MapReduce. That is nothing but I told you about this HDFS and
Uh,
MapReduce. Yes.
yeah, this is Shankar. Sorry, I joined late and I missed your introduction. May I know your name?
Hi Shankar, myself Ashwini.
Hi, Ashwini. Um,
Yes.
just wanted to say, I'm not sure if you have already covered already showed the architecture of the Hadoop or not. Maybe
No.
just,
I have not
I mean,
shown the
I was,
architecture in Hadoop. So the architecture part, I have to, show it now. So I'm yet to show that part. I'm about to show that, but not now.
okay,
In
sure.
future, I'll be covering it up because I'm yet to cover it up with the Hadoop ecosystem and other things. Okay.
I mean, I didn't mean to just interrupt and just want you to show the whole
No.
architecture, but if you show the architecture diagram and just explain it a little bit, that would be helpful, I guess. I mean,
Yes,
I
yes.
don't know what you covered in the initial part. I missed it, but
No. I'm just, trying to write it out, and I'm just trying to explain in this way. So I have not shown the architecture. I'm just going to show you only the ecosystem. So the architecture and, the rest of the part will be covered in the Hadoop session. So, generally I'll try to give you the intro about your Hadoop ecosystem and other components which we are being used here. So to generally have an idea about Hadoop, like what the storage part and the processing part is being done. So I'm just giving an introduction. So this introduction, just to have an idea that how the storage happens and how the processing happens. If I show you the architecture directly, and tell you that this is NOEM node and this is data node and this is going to be this one and this one, you will not be, able to understand it. So in order to make you understand, I'm just giving you an overview about this Hadoop archi in, just a written thing. So architecture, you will be covering it in the Hadoop session. So I don't know, have you, you have gone through about this Hadoop syllabus or not? So once this,
No, curious to know what is the course content, and I was trying to understand the actual, I mean, the broader picture, again, like 10,000-foot level picture of what big data is. So that's what I wanted to understand in this session, but you actually gone in deep, so that's
yes.
good. But I was trying to get an overview of the whole thing.
Okay, so actually, what's your good name? Sorry, I forgot.
Shankar.
Okay, Shankar, actually, this is like mindsmap.net, where you can go and find your big data and Hadoop training syllabus. So this is, the link which I have given you here. So if you click on that, it'll get into you can get into this page, and you can see, if you scroll down, you'll be able to see the curriculum here. So if you click on this button, you can try to download it from here. So you can have a review on your Hadoop syllabus simultaneously if you want. So this is just an introduction about, like, what is Hadoop and what is big data. I'm not going to show you more deep into it, but just to give an overview about all these things so that you'll have an idea.
Yeah, okay, I think I went through the course content, and people were talking about Spark, and Spark has released some other versions as well. So will you be able to cover those, or I don't see that in the content?
Okay, so Spark is similar to Hadoop session. So it's again a 30 hours, not even 30, I mean 20 or 25 hours of sessions would be conducted over Spark. Only then you'll be able to understand it. Spark is a very good concept, and it is not being covered here. If you want some details regarding Spark or something, I can provide you once you are into the session. Okay. Like once we are covering the topics, I'll try to provide you some links, and I can share you some documents related to Spark if you want, like what an idea you want about Spark. But it is
I
not
was
being
curious to
covered
know,
here
like,
in this session.
no, I understand that, but I was curious to know, like, people, I don't know much about it, but I heard from a few of my friends that they're saying Spark is going to replace the MapReduce or some part of the HDFS as well. So can you just throw some limelight on that? Is that true, or should
Of
we?
course, of course. Actually, it is trying to replace MapReduce. But the thing is, Spark is being, it is growing like something. It is trying to replace the MapReduce concept here, because many of the people who doesn't want to do programming in Java, they straight away jump into Spark. It is easily written in Python. So I don't know how many of you like love scripting languages. So Python is very good in doing the programming level. It is very good. It is very simple, where you can go and learn it easily and quickly. So MapReduce also can be written in Python, but generally everyone prefers Java. But right now in market, I would suggest that MapReduce with Java uh, will leave you in a good position. After, if you go through about Spark and you learn it, then you will have a value about that Spark. So without knowing this MapReduce concept, and if you straight away jump into Spark, you will not have an idea like what happens really. What will be your the traditional things which happens, because MapReduce itself is a very big concept where you will have lots of problems and solutions for it. So you have to go through all these programs, only then you will have an idea about MapReduce. So once that part is completed, in the final last two sessions, I'll try to cover up a little about the Spark, and I'll try to provide you some documents related to that, so that you will have an idea about the Spark. Okay. But whatever you have said is right, 100% right. It is trying to replace, but it has, that not been completely being used by many of the organizations. What I would suggest is, like, many of the organizations are still using MapReduce with Java. They have not replaced it yet, because Java is like one of the important programming language here. So I don't think so that they will remove MapReduce completely, but it is good to know Spark. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Fine. Okay, students, so you can download your syllabus from that site, which have showed you, like the link which have given you. So you can download the course contents here, and you can have a review on it. Okay. So
Sure. Can I ask a question? Maybe a last question from my side.
yeah, sure.
Um, I'm pretty sure and confident that you might have already covered it, but uh, can you give me like 5 differences? You must have heard about the HANA database, right?
Okay.
So right now we have implemented HANA over here in our client place. So can you convince me, like, okay, it's it's good to go with big data instead of HANA DB, because HANA DB is in memory, it is faster, it can do all the things what in general, if you ask me as a normal database guy, I would say, okay, what big data is doing exceptionally different than the HANA DB or maybe Oracle Hexadata, which is also in memory. So one key point I get is only the unstructured part. Can you just give me some other benefits of using big data compared to like Oracle Exadata or HANA data?
Definitely. Actually, once the session is being done, you will have a complete, answer for this question which you have put on. So this session is just to give an overview of big data and also to bring an introduction about your Hadoop and Hadoop components. So once the complete session is being done, you will get an answer to your query. So I think I have not covered this. I have not covered this part yet. So once this complete session is done, you'll be able to get it. Is that okay, Sridhar? Because I'm just trying to give you only the features of big data. I have not come into what is being Hadoop and what exactly we are trying to do here. It's just an just an overview. I'm just covering it up. So once this session is being completed, like the demo session is given. So still, if you have that question, I'll again try to give you some of the differences, like why we are jumping into this big data and Hadoop. I could give you all the plus points about Hadoop, so that you can try to compare it with your HANA DB, and you can try to tell, okay, this is what the difference is and this is what everyone is jumping into Hadoop. So is that okay?
Think so. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, Sridhar.
Hey, a quick question on the entire, timings. So, what is the timings of this course?
You mean the total duration or per day?
Yep. Per day, how much time is the classes and how long does it go?
1 hour and 30 minutes is, I think this should be fine.
Okay.
So, mhm.
And an hour and a half daily. And how long is this course?
30 hours of duration.
Okay, it's for 30 hours. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. So coming back to our question.
Sorry, once again, quick question on the project work. What would be the project that we would be working on?
Project in the sense like you're asking about this syllabus, right? Project discussion.
Right. What project would we be working on as part of this course?
There would be like many projects related to Hive and Pig and MapReduce. I would give you some real-time examples also, like real-time data also, like where I can give you large set of data and I can ask you to the process and with MapReduce, Uzi, and Hive. I'll ask you like use these three components, and I want you to complete this project with the help of Pig. Using Pig, I want you to use Pig, Hive, and MapReduce here, and I want to schedule all these things in Uzi. So this would be my task for you, and you have to try to process that data with MR, Hive, and Pig, and you have to finally compile all these actions into your Uzi, and then you have to provide me the project. So my projects could be like that. So it depends, like whatever, it could be your data from hospitals or something like that. So I will give you all the data related to that, and I'll ask you to do projects on that. So your final projects will be very much useful, where you will have an idea like what you're going to do exactly, so that you will have a complete flow of this Hadoop, like where to start and where to end up. So I think these projects should help you more in your interview session.
Fantastic. Now I heard that we should know a little bit of Java. So now I do not know Java personally. So would it be covered as part of this course, or should I learn Java separately? How does that work?
I'll definitely try to help you about this core Java. Like whatever you have to learn it, for this Hadoop, I'll try to help you on that. Apart from that, if you want to learn more about this core Java, you can, I'll give you some of the sites and documents so that you can have a review at your, in your free time, and you can come back if you have any questions. So I think this core Java should not be a problem in this session, in learning this Hadoop.
Right. Now, learning Java is not the intention, but we are aware that to understand Hadoop, we should know a little bit of Java. So, so just circling back to be clear, so you're saying that you will cover those parts of core Java that is required?
Definitely. Before this MapReduce concept comes, when we have a walkthrough on this Hadoop cluster, we'll definitely, speak about this core Java level, and we'll cover up topics related to that, and then we'll move on to MapReduce. So once we have started with the MapReduce, simultaneously we'll cover up with the core Java concepts too, so that you will have an idea about this programming level.
Thank you. I'll let you talk now. I'll not disturb anymore.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Fine. So we'll move on to the next topic. Okay, so we have seen all these things like Hadoop components. What are the Hadoop components here? And we have discussed about the cluster and what are the features here in Hadoop and how Hadoop actually works. So this is nothing but the Hadoop roadmap. So I've given you that list of years, like which year what has been done. So this Yahoo actually started in 2002. The R&D development was done on Google Papers. So in 2004, what happened is they introduced the storage concept called Google File System Paper. Then in 2005, Duff Cutting added distributed file system and MapReduce to that concept. Then in later 2006, Yahoo started a test project on on few clusters. Then in 2007, it was successfully implemented on 1,000 nodes of clusters. Then once it was succeeded, it was in the year 2008, this Apache started a big project and it succeeded on 4,000 nodes. So finally in 2009, they have released this Cloudera product. I don't know how many of you had heard it before coming into this session. There are various types of Hadoop like Cloudera, Mapr, Hortonworks, and so on. So Duff Cutting actually joined this Cloudera team, and then they have released this Apache Hadoop Cloudera. So we will be actually working on this Cloudera. This Cloudera is built with the OS CentOS. So it will be, it is actually built on CentOS. So which comes under this Unix flavor. So this CDH will give you a complete understanding, because in organizations everyone is using the CDH. So some organizations are using Hortonworks, Squirrel. It depends. Like IBM uses IBM Big Insights. So these are the, like Hadoop is a common name. So each organization, to make themselves convenient, they have given this name like Big Insights, IBM Big Insights, Cloudera, and Hortonworks, Mapr, Squirrel. So these are the different types of Hadoop which is available in market, and I would say like most of the people are using this Cloudera CDH, and next would be your Hortonworks, and third would be your Mapr. So Mapr is something related to statistics. If you are very good in machine learning, and artificial intelligence. So that is a place where you can go for MapR. So you'll have an idea about it, and you can start learning this MapR. So here what we will be covering is, we will be covering only this Cloudera part. And okay, basically there are three types of modes. That is, one is pseudo mode, standalone mode, and the other one will be fully distributed mode. Three types of clusters where you will be dealing only with the pseudo mode. So that is nothing but the CDH. So we'll be discussing more about this in the cluster setup part. So this is all about your Hadoop introduction, and I have given you an introduction about this Hadoop roadmap. We will be talking more about this in a in a diagram wise in Hadoop sessions. So this will be your Hadoop ecosystem. In Hadoop ecosystem, okay. Okay, this is what the Hadoop ecosystem is, and it starts from Hadoop distributed file system. So it is nothing but generally like Windows file system and Unix file system. This is something called Hadoop related file system. So this is Hadoop distributed file system. On top of it, you'll have a MapReduce. Yarn MapReduce is nothing but yet another resource negotiator. This Yarn MapReduce comes in the Hadoop 2 version. In Hadoop 1 version, it's just a MapReduce. So we will be looking at the differences between Hadoop 1 and Hadoop 2. So this is the complete ecosystem. Like, this is how it has to come. So on top of HDFS, you have Yarn MapReduce. On top of Yarn MapReduce, you have UZ, which is a workflow, and Pig, which is a scripting language, where you do the scripting work, and then Mahout, where you will do the machine learning, and then R-Connectors, which is dealing with the statistics, and then next will be your Hive, where you will have SQL query. This Ambari on top of this actually comes in Hortonworks, not in Cloudera. So this Ambari is mainly used in Hortonworks, not in Cloudera. So we'll cover up all these parts like Whoozy, Pig, Mahout, R-Connectors, Hive. So on top of HDFS, we'll have HBase. HBase will not be on top of MapReduce. So it will be on top of HDFS because it is similar to MapReduce. HBase is also used for processing, and it also deals with the key value pair of data. So on the other side, you will be seeing this Zookeeper, which is like acts as a coordinator for all these components here in Hadoop, and Flume will be your log collector, and it will try to transfer your unstructured data from different data sources to your Hadoop. So Scoop will be your data exchange between your RDBMS to your Hadoop. So we'll look into it more about it. So this is generally about Hadoop ecosystem. And okay, so HDFS, as I told you, Hadoop distributed file system, it will be used for storing and managing data. It has 5 daemons. That will be your name node, your secondary name node, data node, task tracker, and job tracker. So these are the 5 daemons which is running here in HDFS. So on top of this Hadoop distributed file system, you will have MapReduce, where the processing framework is which is said to be a processing framework, and it is used to process a huge amount of data. That is why MapReduce is coming into picture here. So once once this process is being done, it can be used with Pig or Hive. Pig is nothing but it is a scripting language. Actually, it is used to write data analysis programs for huge sets of data which is in Hadoop cluster. So it is actually written in Pig Latin. So okay. So other than that, if I have to say you in a simple thing, Pig is also known as a data flow language, where it processes the enormous amount of data easily and very quickly. So Pig is actually composed of two parts. That is like Pig interpreter, and the language is called as Pig Latin. So the language which we are using in Pig is Pig Latin. So you will be writing script in Pig Latin and using Pig interpreter to process them. So to process that Pig script, we will be using Pig interpreter. So once this pig is being introduction is being covered, we'll now move on to Hive. So Hive is like similarly like SQL. So that is why it is known as HiveQL. So it is a SQL-like language which is of squaring of data from HDFS. So whatever the data it tries to get it from HDFS, it will be actually squaring the data. So the SQL version of Hive is known as the HiveQL here. So Hive is especially used to create tables in whatever you try to do it with your RDBMS, with your SQL, the same thing will be done here in Hive. Especially for the data warehousing concept, Hive is more important. So you could ask me some of the differences, like what happens in data warehouse and Hive here. So data warehousing concept, it is like ETL system where you will extract from different data sources. You will do all the staging part here, and then you will put it into your data warehouse. So this is what happens in the data warehousing. But here in Hadoop, once your data is being loaded to your HDFS, it is being processed using with the help of Hive, and then it is finally stored into your database. So it happens in this way, so that in order to in few of the discrepancies will not be it would not be missed over here. So in order to avoid all those things, this Hadoop actually works out here with this ELT system, that is like nothing but extracts from the different data sources, and it tries to load into your HDFS and then process with the processing components. So this is all done here in Hive. So it is similarly to the data warehousing concept. So whoever is from data warehousing, they are actually trying to upgrade it to your here in Hive. So along with that, you can even try to map it with your HBase tables and also try to operate on them. So this is what a general introduction about your Hive. So HBase is nothing but it stores data same like MapReduce in the key value format. Also it is distributed, it is scalable, and it is a big data storage. So but being a file system, whenever this HDFS, whatever the file system it is, whatever the Hadoop distributed file system or whatever file system it is, it lacks in random read and write access. So that is where the HBase comes into picture. So normally in a RDBMS, if you see, the columns would be okay, this HBase is one of the NoSQL. It is a column oriented database where you can actually try to format it in the column wise. It is very easy to do the indexing. So once we are into the HBase session, we will be looking into it. So this is like general introduction about this HBase, and OOSI will be your workflow, like where you will be scheduling your jobs, whatever you are trying to do in Pig, HBase or Hive or Scoop or whatever it is. Whenever you are trying to schedule some action, you can do it with the OOSI, so that it makes your work more easier. So it tries to do, if for example I'm getting a data from different source, I'm trying to process it with the Hadoop components like Hive and Pig. Once that is done, I have to place it in a mail and I have to send it. So all these three can be scheduled here in OOSI. That is your action of Pig, Hive, and your mail action could be done here using this OOSI. It is mainly used for scheduling. So your Flume is nothing but it is an application used to allow to move streaming data between the into the Hadoop cluster. So streaming data is nothing but the data that is being returned to log files. So generally it is said to be as a log collector. So Scoop is nothing but it is a data exchange. So it is an application used to transfer data from your RDBMS to your Hadoop. So from Hadoop to again to your RDBMS. So in that way your structured data will get transferred. So between from RDBMS to Hadoop and Hadoop to RDBMS. That is why it is said to be Scoop. That is SQL to Hadoop. SQOOP. So it is like SQL to Hadoop. That is why they have shortly named it as Scoop. Okay. So coming to Zookeeper. Zookeeper is nothing but it takes care of all the coordination that is required to function properly among the softwares. So all these things are being given here in Zookeeper, and These are all like Apache products here. So once this ecosystem, okay, this is all about your ecosystem, and this is what I was trying to tell you about Scoop. So whenever you're trying to move your data from your RDBMS, that is your structured data from your RDBMS to HDFS, or from HDFS to your RDBMS, Scoop is, I'm sorry, Scoop comes into picture. So I just gave you an introduction about PIC. So this is the logo of your PIC. So mostly when you are trying to deal with the Hadoop components, you'll have the animal, animals as the logo here. So that is why it is said to be Hadoop Animal Planet. So your Hive will have this this one, because it is being developed by Facebook. That is why they have given the Facebook as symbol, and PIC is being developed by Yahoo, and that is why they have given the symbol Yahoo. So Apache HBase has been given defined by Apache. So now we have discussed about this HBase, and also we have discussed something about this Zookeeper, where the configuration, maintenance, and naming, all these coordination is being done here in Zookeeper. And also we just had a general introduction about this Oozie, which is nothing but it is a workflow. So these are the applications like we are dealing with, like healthcare, financial area, e-commerce, like shopping area. So like shopping sites like Amazon, so Flipkart, whatever the shopping sites we are using. So all these applications are trying to use this Hadoop. So they are actually the one who is in the market, like being using. They're the top people, top organizations which they have started using Hadoop. Like IBM uses IBM Big Insight, and Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Rackspace, Amazon. So these are the different organizations, they are using Hadoop. Okay, so moving on to your big data itself. Okay, so I don't know how many of you have heard about this ESG. So ESG is nothing but it is one of the data report collector. Like they used to analyze they used to take the reports on data, like how many organizations are generating what type of data, like how they are using. They used to take a survey of it. They used to collect the reports related to the data. So they not only collect about data, they collect about other things also. Like one of the collection would be related to your data. So they have collected different sets of reports from different organizations. We'll look into it in the PPT sessions. So first, PPT tells about your importance of data. So data has to be refined, definitely. So when it comes to your storage, you have to refine your data. Like data is a new oil. That is what they're coming to tell you, that it has been said by Andres, like oil needs to be refined before it can be useful. So data has to be refined before it has to be used. So data analysis also is one of the important thing, where it will try to make your business more understandable. So that is why we are doing the analysis. In most of the organizations, this is a major part. So these are the importance of data. We are going to cover it up. So we'll see like how it happens. Okay. So this is about the ESG report and data analytics, whatever they have done in top 5 business and top 5 IT companies. So okay, and okay, this is what they have collected report. They have asked a question about what is a term called big data, like I have asked you in the start of the session. So this was a question actually placed to different organizations, and they have collected reports. So 59% of them have said like very large data sets, and 42% have said like very large databases, and some of them they have said like enterprise data warehouses, then complex data analytics, scale out storage. So very, 11% of them, they have told about Hadoop MapReduce. Might be they would have, made a research on this data analysis. So what Hadoop and MapReduce actually does. So this is all about, the meaning of the term big data. And they have asked like how much size that their organization actually do the analytics on largest data set. So whatever they are trying to process it. So this was the reply which they have got it, and they have made a report on it. So okay, so here I just wanted to cover up one more thing, like whatever the data you're trying to do an analysis here, finally you can make a report here in Tableau. So Tableau is one of the software where you can get it from different sources, and you can do the reports in Tableau. So in my project, I try to take a final data from whatever I have done using this Hadoop, and I used to put it here in Tableau. So this is one of the good thing to present your reports. Okay. So this is like they have given the largest data set for processing. They have taken a survey on it, and they have given the report on it. Okay, so they've asked like data source could be okay, number of data sources to integrate. So sources could be like any number, it could be anywhere, but the thing the way you're bringing is what type of for example, if suppose it is a structured type of data, and if it is coming from RDBMS or DB flat file system, then you have to use Scoop here. So in that way you should be able to give a solution to that. Whatever the data sources could be anything. It can be any number as well, like it can be one database, or it can be one data source, or it can be two unique data sources, or three different data sources. So it can be something like that. So you should be able to get the data from the different sources to your Hadoop file system, and then you have to start processing it. So that is what they have given a survey here, like what different types of servers they have, different types of data sources they are actually trying to use it in daily life. So some of the 23% is the most highest here, and they have said like 3 unique data sources. So it is like 3 unique data sources that is being used in organizations, of course. So it happens. Okay. So this is like updating the frequency of your largest data set. So these are the things, like they have taken a report on different types of data and challenges faced in processing data. Some of them has said like data security, some of them said like data integration. So it keeps on it depends, like whatever the issues you are facing, so whatever the challenges you are facing with the while processing your data, that is what the survey they have given here. And okay, what are key benefits for processing your data? So they have given you the key benefits here. So what is the use of Hadoop here? So actually, if you see, the Hadoop is like open source software, so where you can download it easily, and you can try to use it in your it is not a commercial based, so it is a license free software, so where you can download it easily and you can start working on it. The only thing is you don't have a training materials lot on Hadoop. That is why it is quite tough. But other than that, it is easy. Yeah, the product is actually license free, and you can download it easily, and you can start working on it if you have an idea about it. So this is all about the ESG reports, whatever they have collected, and generally this is like what is big data. We have just covered like what is big data and where it is being used. So they have given like top 3 uses, like in aeroplanes and New York Stock Exchange. These are the top users who is generating lots and lots of data daily life. So in daily life, so Facebook is also one of the big data generator. So your big data is being generated daily. It doesn't have an end, like it doesn't get it is not reducing. So it is okay, so it is actually okay, just a second guys. Okay, so it actually tries to generate lots of data. So this is what we just saw about the overview of big data, and we covered it like what is structured and unstructured data. Here they have given the differences between structured and unstructured data. And also I've covered all these things like what are the three different V's that is being available to define a big data. That is variety, volume, velocity, as some of you gave me answer on it. And okay. Okay, we have seen the challenges of big data too. And okay, rest of the topics we'll be covering it tomorrow. So before that, I wanted to show you like a very simple one. Where this ecosystem can be generally divided into two types. One is like batch processing, the other one is real-time processing. Batch processing is otherwise known as online analytical processing, and real-time processing I could say you like online transactional processing. So these are the two different types of processing we have. Under this batch processing, we have data ingestion and data processing. So data ingestion is nothing but Scoop and Flume is two of the things which we are going to cover up in this session. Other than Scoop and Flume, we have Kafka and Niffy in market. So data processing systems, we have MapReduce. MapReduce can be written in Java, Python, Perl, Ruby, any of the scripting language. But we are going to see with the Java programming language. And other than MapReduce, we have Pig and Hive, which are used for data processing. Other than Pig and Hive, we have Impala, HBase, and HDFS. So these are the topics under batch processing, and data integration system is nothing but the Uzi which we are going to see for scheduling jobs. And also Azkaban is the other one which is being available in the market. And these are the different types of NoSQL which is available in the market, but we are going to see only about the HBase, and I would give you the differences between the different types of NoSQLs which are being used in the market when we are into the NoSQL concept. So once this part is being covered, we'll move on to the next topics. So this is different types of NoSQL, and this is all about the real-time processing systems, that is online transactional processing systems. So it is like, there are two things like Spark and Storm. So these both things can be written here in Python, Java, and Scala. So for online analytical processing, what I would give you the best example is your healthcare system. So suppose in hospital, if you are trying to take some data about, 10 years back, there was a disease like uh, that was spreading around, on many people, and they have resolved it giving a medicine. So if you want to take all those, historical data, that is where, OLAP comes into picture. So this would be the best example here. So where your historical data comes, there OLAP comes. So once, okay, so this is all about, one of the example that can be given to online analytical processing. When we are coming to online transactional processing, your bank transaction. So whenever you are trying to do the transaction, that would be like data coherency. So whenever you are trying to do that, there would be like lots of data coherency in between. So in order to avoid that, the Spark and Storm is actually coming into picture. So I think one of you asked about Spark, and hope this gives you some idea about Spark. So this is all about real-time processing and batch processing ecosystem. If you understand this in this level, you'll be easy to identify what are the components in Hadoop and how we are going to work on it. So this is all about the introduction part. So do you guys have any questions on it? So okay, before I wind up, fine. So you have to download a VM player, and then we have to install CDH on it. This is how we'll start our hands-on. So this has to be kept ready in another 2 or 3 sessions. So once I'm starting the MapReduce, you should keep it ready so that you'll have a hands-on simultaneously. So this is all about Hadoop and big data. Do you have any questions, guys?
Thanks for the session. What happens, by chance if we miss any class?
If you miss any class, I would suggest you would not be able to understand the next topic which I'm telling. You see, for example, Shankar came in between, so he was not able to cover up few of the things. Like when I covered syllabus, all these things, so he was not there. So he came in middle of the session and he was not able to understand it. So demo session itself, it is like that. So when you are going into topics, everything is new to you. Like MapReduce and all these concepts will be new to you. If you miss any of these sessions, it will be quite tough for you. If you miss also, you can go and see the videos, like where you can go and see the training videos. Each and every session will be recorded, so you can have a review on it. If you have any questions, you can come back to me. I'll just clear it up.
Okay, that was my worry. There is a chance that sometimes due to some official or personal thing, if we miss a class, we should be able to, catch up and not feel like we are lost in the next session. So there are videos available.
Yes, videos available. You can go and review it. If you have any questions on that, you can come back and ask me. I will definitely help you on that.
Great, thanks.
No problem. So I think we are good. I hope no questions. So
when is the next session?
the same time tomorrow we'll start up the session.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I have a question. This is Naveen.
Yes, Naveen.
So I know that you have covered a lot of concepts in this session.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to joining the next session, recommend us to go through some stuff before we come tomorrow, because a lot of the concepts that you have explained today, I don't know them.
Definitely. I'll share you all the documents related to the daily session where you can have a go through, and if you still have any queries, you can go and check out in the knowledge base, and I'll collect all your email IDs and I will share all the things, like whatever the PPTs which I'm using here, and whatever the notes I'm using here, all these things will be shared to you, so that you will have you will try to have a recap on it. Definitely, I'll do that. Okay, Naveen, which will
And
make you.
one more question regarding the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So are these sessions designed in such a way that the people who will be coming up to the sessions are pretty novice, to Hadoop?
I didn't get you. Can you come again, Naveen?
Hope that the people who are attending these sessions, are pretty much beginners to Hadoop technology. So I'm asking the question if these sessions are designed in such a way that beginners could understand them easily.
Definitely. I think the things which I told you should have an overview about. See, in demo session itself, you will not have a complete understanding of Hadoop and big data. The thing is, no one is new to the concept. Everyone is new to the database concept. Everyone is new to the Java concept. No one knows, like, before Java, like no one knows it, like what happened. So everyone is new to the concept. Whatever I think is, there is no like beginner level or intermediate level or the expert level. I think whatever the data which we have it in mind, it is more sufficient, and whatever we are trying to put it in our memory is very good. I would suggest you that don't put yourself like it is very new concept and you will not be able to cope up with it. It will not be like that. It will be very easy for you, because it's just a concept. So if you have a little programming knowledge also, I will give you a small session on that, so that you will have a you will get help on that, and you will be able to do some of the concepts in Hadoop. So rest of the things, if you have a DB knowledge, you can cover it up. So I don't think so. This should not be a problem, in learning Hadoop. So it would be easy for you. Don't think like it will be new for you, and at beginner level you have to worry on that. It will not be like that. If I
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. If whatever the things I'm daily giving you, if you try to review it and try to submit your assignments, you will be enjoying this session. That is what I could tell you. So okay. So this is all about the Hadoop session, demo session. So I'm closing for the day. Happy Hadooping. So see you in the next session. Okay, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. And the class today.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
You came out of here.